Lucasfilm should be renamed the Temple of Doom.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is almost here, and the press around the film has been lackluster at best. With a 50% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and negative word of mouth spreading quicker than Elsa Schneider, things aren't looking too bright for Dr. Jones' fifth outing. A recent article from Fortune paints a grim reality that is Lucasfilm's present predicament. A successful film can help them break out of their slump, but the numbers are not in their favor. Let's talk about that, but before we do, today's video is brought to you by us at shopwcbs.com. It's summertime, it's getting hotter, but you have to wear something out in public, so why not wear something with style and class? World class, that is. So go to shopwcbs.com and get yourself an official WCBS t-shirt. There are dozens of choices designed by me, and all of our shirts are shipped and printed through Teespring, so you get their customer service, support, as well as the high quality each of their t-shirt carries. So go to shopwcbs.com right now to grab one of those, and since it's summer and it's so damn hot out, you might want something cool to drink. So why not drink that cool beverage out of an official WCBS pint glass? When you do, you'll become the fifth bullshitter. You can crack a cold one with us and spend your summer watching all the new world-class bullshitters content coming your way, including the return of good morning pop culture. So folks, you can click on those links below, get yourself an official WCBS piece of glassware, wear the t-shirt, and hang out with us all summer long. And now, back to the video. Indiana Jones is a name synonymous with adventure. His exploits are the stuff of legend. If he's not finding the Ark of the Covenant, fighting Nazis, or banging them, he's teaching archaeology and rekindling his fractured relationship with his father. Indiana Jones is one of the greatest characters in cinema, or should I say, was, as his fourth installment marred the legacy of the character to the point of parody. Though his heyday is far behind him, Dr. Jones is being dragged out for one last adventure, and as we get closer to the release date, the possibility of the film being successful is melting away faster than Toad's face. Fortune published a piece over the weekend discussing the dire situation at Lucasfilm, and the numbers don't look good for Indy. Lucasfilm has just premiered its fifth installment of its Indiana Jones franchise, and a lot is riding on the fedora-sporting, bullwhip-toting archaeologist portrayed by the now 80-year-old Hollywood star Harrison Ford. At nearly $300 million, The Dial of Destiny is one of the most expensive films ever made, and the initial reviews suggest it could bomb big at the box office when it lands on June 30th. When Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was released 15 years ago, the spectacle of seeing an aged Harrison Ford emerge unscathed from a nuclear blast by hiding in a refrigerator left no one asking for more. But they will get a sequel nonetheless when The Dial of Destiny swings into theaters a full 42 years after the first installment. Factoring in marketing and distribution costs, including the cinema's cut of receipts, it will likely have to pull in around $800 million at the box office just to break even. $800 million just to break even? Jesus!
That's for blasphemy.
A film that needs to break $800 million to break even. That means it won't make any money until it crosses that threshold. That's a gargantuan feat that no Indiana Jones film has achieved ever before. Here's the entire box office history of the Indiana Jones franchise. Raiders of the Lost Ark brought in $367 million, Temple of Doom brought in $333 million, The Last Crusade brought in $474 million, and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull brought in $786 million. Adjusted for inflation, Raiders of the Lost Ark brought in $1.2 billion, Temple of Doom $972 million, The Last Crusade $1.1 billion, and The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull brought in $1.1 billion. Those numbers are impressive, especially since Raiders of the Lost Ark cost $20 million, Temple of Doom $28 million, and The Last Crusade $48 million. Briefly, if we look at what these films would cost today, Raiders would cost $66 million, Temple of Doom $81 million, The Last Crusade $117 million, and when we get to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the budget gets much higher and the films become far less profitable. In today's money, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull would cost $260 million, and while it cost $1 billion, it's still a pricey film that costs more than money. It possibly cost Indiana Jones his entire legacy. The Dial of Destiny is already the 13th most expensive film of all time. The $800 million break-even number seems highly unlikely. Only 2 films have crossed that threshold this year, and in 2022, only 6 films. The numbers are not in Indy's favor.
Never tell me the odds.
Wrong film. If $800 million was the litmus test for every Hollywood film to break even, only 10 movies in the last 3 years would have made a profit. No business can sustain itself like this, no matter how powerful they think nostalgia is. At the center of all of this is Lucasfilm's mismanagement. Since 2012, Kathleen Kennedy has been president of Lucasfilm, but her tenure has been wrought with controversy and chaos. Looking at the numbers alone, she hasn't done incredibly well making a profit for Disney. If we look at the list of the most expensive films ever made, we see that the entire sequel trilogy is in the top 10, with The Force Awakens costing an estimated $447 million, though inside sources claim that's an extra $100 million. This makes that $2 billion box office look far less impressive when the film cost that much. The Rise of Skywalker was allegedly reshot 3 separate times, adding to its monumental budget. Not only did that film fail to excite audiences, it killed the Star Wars brand, which has gone back to streaming, but even there, the mismanagement is hurting it. The lack of planning, or whatever the core issue may be, is creating an incredibly expensive film that people do not want. The legacy of these characters is important. Audiences will forever support their favorite cinematic heroes, as long as the films don't ruin the character's legacy, which Lucasfilm has a penchant for doing. That in turn cuts into the profits these characters can make for the studio moving ahead. At the end of 2022, Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, was quoted as saying, "Instead of chasing Disney Plus subscribers with aggressive marketing and aggressive spending on content, we have to start chasing profitability. That starts with creating films that make a profit at the box office, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is headed for doom if they think an $800 million break-even point is acceptable, or even possible. No film in the series has ever made that much money before taking inflation into account." We all know this is the end of Indiana Jones, but Lucasfilm should have realized the character suffered a very public death in 2008 with The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It's a film that is not loved, its legacy is dirt, and the damage has been done, and it cannot be overstated how severe that damage was. Indiana Jones died in 2008. This is just his corpse 15 years later. Nearly $1 billion to break even. That's unheard of. That's crazy. Harrison Ford is the last great living movie star, but come on, even that guy can't bring in that kind of money. The hype around The Force Awakens was the return to Star Wars, the way it was marketed, Han, Luke, and Leia returning, the Millennium Falcon, and all sorts of iconic things that people love. The Force theme, lightsabers, a Death Star. Lucasfilm knew how to pull at the heartstrings of fans, but they can't do it again with Indiana Jones. Everything that's big about Indiana Jones is tied to one man, Harrison Ford, and we've watched it fail before. Like I said, 2008 was the death of Indiana Jones, and this is just the holdovers, the leftovers. What do you expect them to do? What do you expect audiences to do? These films will not have repeat viewings if the audience leaves unhappy. Looking at the reviews from the BBC and other reviews that came out earlier paint a grim picture of a depressing, dark, dour film. More of that terrible, dreaded D word we talk about, deconstruction. It seems like James Mangold and crew have created a film that's not fun. It's dark, it's depressing, it's realistic, it's a sobering look at Indiana Jones, and that's not what anybody wants. Do you want to look at a sobering version of your favorite heroes? No, you want to watch them escape death by the skin of their teeth. You want to watch them go on one more epic journey, and maybe metaphorically this time right off into the sunset, since Indiana Jones already did that literally at the end of The Last Crusade. The mismanagement is mind-boggling, but so is the lack of realization of what to give the audience, how to give them what they want. It's not hard to send them home happy, but these films refuse to send audiences home happy. They think they're so much smarter than the average bear. They think they know what's better for the audiences, so they want to give them these deep, thoughtful, introspective, stupid, at the end of the day, films, because they think that showing the hero in a realistic and deconstructed way is what they should do. Hollywood makes movies for itself these days, especially Lucasfilms. They think they know how to get audiences in, but all they know how to do is get audiences to leave, and leave forever. It's unthinkable, it's unfathomable to think what they've done with Star Wars. In hindsight, you go back to 1999 and you look at Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, a film that was highly divisive that pissed off a lot of people, but audiences came back for Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. They bought the video games, they bought the movies, they bought the toys, they bought everything. That's not happening anymore. We have videos that show the merchandise doesn't move. We've seen numbers that these products aren't as popular and profitable as they used to be. And at the core of that, that's Lucasfilm's problem. And at the head of Lucasfilm is Kathleen Kennedy. And all the excuses in the world will not make up for all the losses in the world. So if Indiana Jones thinks it's going to make $1 billion at the box office, well, based on everything else so far, it's got another thing coming. So folks, it's time for your 3 questions for today. 1. What do you think the final box office number for Indiana Jones 5 will be? 2, do you think it's actually going to cross that $800 million break-even mark? And 3, give me your opinions on a film that costs that much money just to break even. Indiana Jones movies are fairly cheap by comparison. If Raiders of the Lost Ark cost $20 million back then, which is $66 million today, and made $1.2 billion, we'd be looking at Joker. Joker was such a highly profitable film, but other ones? They're not. They only promote the grosses at the box office, but Disney is in such a bad place it needs to focus on the P word. Profitability. So folks, thank you for watching. I'll be back next time with more. But in the meantime, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other. Thanks for watching today's video. Yes, it's over, but don't cry because there's more, a lot more from World Class Bullshitters. And there's only one way to get it. Hit that subscribe button below. When you do that, you'll get notifications and updates from World Class Bullshitters every time we go live. Basically, you won't miss anything. And if there's one thing I hate, it's FOMO. But the thing most people hate more than FOMO is fear of missing out on World Class Bullshitters, because there's just some things you can't undo. So folks, do yourselves a favor and never miss anything from World Class Bullshitters. One last thing before you go, hit the thumbs up button. Not for our egos, no, they're big enough as this, but it does help us fight the algorithm here, and well, it's man versus machine, and that's the real fight. But if that's not your battle, that's okay. There's one last way you can help WCBS, and that's going over to shopwcbs.com, picking up a t-shirt, a beer glass, a sweatshirt, a poster, all sorts of ways to back WCBS. The difference between us and other YouTube channels is I'm the artist that makes all this stuff, so if you enjoy art beyond t-shirts, you can even read our comic books. We got it all. We're called the epitome of pop culture for a reason, and no, again, it's not for our egos. So folks, make sure you're involved with every aspect of World Class Bullshitters, not just for us, but do it for yourself. We're making the change in entertainment everybody out there wants to see. And a special thank you goes out to all of our wonderful patrons who make this content possible. Go to patreon.com/worldclassbs to get involved and help out the channel.